What's up, everybody? In this video, I am gonna basically review the movie Moonlight, but I consider this a real talk video as well, just because this movie does touch on so many social issues. Let me go ahead and just give you the basic premise of the movie. It follows a young man, really, through three different stages of his life. It starts off with him as a child, it jumps forward to him as a teenager, and then you have him as a young adult. And, well, I'll just say just an adult, okay? And, so played by three different actors. So that is basically the structure of the movie. That's the basic setup. And then what's really going on with this young man is that he's dealing with several different issues. A lot of people focus on his basically his turmoil with coming to terms with his sexuality in the movie, which is major. That is a major part of it. But then also it's the fact that he's a young man that's growing up without love, basically, without true love. His father's not around. His mother has substance abuse issues. He has parental role models within his life, but they kind of come and go. So it's just that type of situation where he just doesn't have that guidance and support that he truly needs. It's not there 100%. And he's basically a victim of circumstance because growing up with that not just a single parent, but one that is strung out on drugs, you see how that really affects him. And then also, like I said, not really understanding himself. It's a kind of a tragic movie. It's definitely not for everybody. People that are kind of short on patience may not get into the movie because it does move along kind of slowly. Not a lot of action to it, I guess you would say. No true action to it. It's a drama for sure. And then also, I know some people are homophobic, which let me go ahead and address this up front. Just me personally, I can understand people being somewhat uncomfortable because, just in general, people get uncomfortable around people that just aren't like them. If you're the only person of a certain color in a room full of people of a different ethnic background, then I think it's understandable to be uncomfortable. That doesn't mean you're racist. It just means that you're more comfortable around your own. Basically, that's just the way it is. It's natural. And the same thing goes with orientation. So just because for me, I do feel like homosexuality is natural because it does exist in nature. And for people that say it's not natural, I just don't understand why some people think that way. I'm sure that there are people that experiment, whatever, but I think there are people that are born that way because, it even exists in the animal kingdom. Now, people that want to say that, oh, it's just choice and people just choose to be that way. It's like, well, why would a giraffe choose to be that way? That makes no sense to me. I really do think it is a natural thing. And people that would use religion as a reason to put it down, I feel like, okay, if you're going to follow the Bible, follow it 100%. Otherwise, don't try to use it as a weapon. There was even this preacher I saw one time that pointed out that where people draw that from, that it's a sin, is from Leviticus, but then they ignore pretty much everything else in Leviticus, including the fact that people aren't supposed to eat shellfish, which they absolutely do. So yeah, again, it's like if you're gonna follow it 100%. Otherwise, don't try to use it as a weapon against people. And I definitely feel that when it comes to the Bible and religious beliefs, there's a lot of man-made meddling in there. There definitely is. I don't understand anybody could not see that when there's so many different versions of the Bible and so many different religions. Is definitely man-made. So I go off of faith. Me personally, I go off of faith and the good conscience that God has given me. That's what I go with. That's where my faith is based in. Not in books and not in people that sometimes you can't trust, because even some of our religious leaders, that are out there, have done some pretty foul things and continue to do some pretty foul things, and when they get caught, all of a sudden, they're so understanding, so forgiving, and they use that to say that, they learn from their sin and this and that or whatever, but it's like they didn't do that until they got caught though, right? So yeah, that's why I feel like, especially in the black community, and by the way, be patient with me, I'm going to get to the review here, but especially in the black community, when we deal with so much racism, I just don't see how some people can be so harsh against somebody else that they feel is different. You know, you think you would learn from being discriminated against not to discriminate, and yet people still do it anyway. And that's definitely a factor within this movie. So let me go ahead and get to the actual movie here now. Gotta start off by talking about Mahershala Ali. Hope I'm saying his name correctly. There's kind of a tough first name because he is a Muslim, and he's actually the first Muslim actor to win an Oscar, and boy did he deserve it. He is an amazing actor. I've seen him in House of Cards. I've seen him in Luke Cage, where he played Cottonmouth. Did an amazing job there, and I actually did a review on Luke Cage on my channel, on my other channel. But yeah, he just really stole the show. Basically, he did so well with this performance. There's even this moment where I just got to go ahead and address it, where he does this impersonation of somebody that spoke to him when he was younger, and it's like he just becomes another person, you know, within that character, and that's really amazing. And I feel like there's a lot of honesty within his character. He's definitely that main father figure that Little has, and that's what the main character goes by when he actually is young. Young people call him Little. But yeah, he's a drug dealer. I mean, to be blunt about it, but he's not like a really horrible person. You know, a lot of people assume because somebody is a criminal that they're just, you know, I guess you say like a dregs of society, or they're scum, whatever you want to say. But he's not that type of person. He actually is a good-hearted person. He's just doing something that's illegal, you know. So I think that's true to life. There are a lot of people that they know they're doing things that are wrong and that hurt other people and that can get them locked up, but it doesn't mean that they're like a horrible person. They're just making bad choices, you know. They're not a bad person. They're making bad choices, you know. So there is a difference there, although, I mean, obviously they do connect, but there's also sort of a difference there. So I really love the moral dilemma that this character was in the movie. I thought that was amazing. You know, he's like I said, that father figure when Little is young, and then he's not there later on, which you definitely miss his presence in the movie, and that bothered me at first, but then I got it. You know, the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, well, his presence needed to be missed because the main character is missing him. He's missing that male role model now in his life that probably could have helped him out a lot in the long run, even though he's doing things that he shouldn't do. You know, Mahershala Ali's character is doing things he shouldn't do. Still, in the long run, he probably could have been very helpful to the main character, but he wasn't there after a while. And that's what so many black boys go through, you know, that the fathers are gone, or they just don't have good male role models around at all, you know. So it's a very tough situation. But again, this actor, he got that Oscar, and this was definitely his year, no doubt about that. Another actor that really blew me away, Naomie Harris, who I have seen before, and I didn't even realize it, you know, because she really gets so lost within her roles. But I first saw her in 28 Days Later. She plays Moneypenny in the most recent James Bond movies. Does a great job, you know, with those other roles. But here, she is just so transformative. It's really impressive, especially the fact that I heard that she did this role in 3 days. That's just, it was shocking to hear that. I'm like, because she did so much in this movie. And when you first meet her, I really love it that, okay, people with substance abuse issues, you don't always see that up front. Like, over time, it will wear them down. And especially if they kind of, I guess they increase the amount of drugs that they take, it definitely shows. But when you first meet her character, you really don't realize she has that issue. So, yeah, but it definitely gets worse as it goes along. And I mean, of course, the main character has to deal with that. And it's rough to see it, because what you're basically seeing is a black queen that's just giving up her dignity. I mean, that's really what it is. She's just losing herself within the drugs, and the things that she does to get the drugs, you know, really shaming herself. And it's rough to see. And I really was glad, though, and, you know, if I haven't said it already, of course, there would be some small spoilers throughout this movie. Regardless, you know, if you haven't seen it, it's worth seeing, though. But I was really glad that she had a later scene with the main character. I didn't expect that. I thought that, you know, once he was an adult, he would probably choose not to deal with her at all. So the fact that we did get to see her again, I thought that was amazing. And it was such a powerful scene. Yeah, that scene alone makes me want to watch the movie again, because that scene was so good. Like, and there might be times when I do go back just to watch individual scenes because they're so powerful. Like the scene I said with Mahershala Ali when he's talking about when he was younger, and then that scene, like I said, I just mentioned with Naomi Harris when she's older. So yeah, these actors, they just really did their thing, and you see their impact on the main character. Another actress that I gotta point out here is Janelle Monáe, who was a nice surprise in the movie. I know her mainly as a musical artist, and I gotta be honest, I'm mentioning her because, I mean, her character was important. She was like another mother figure to the main character, but she didn't have like a lot of scenes, and she didn't have like really major scenes, but my God, is she gorgeous? Like, I did not realize before just how gorgeous she is. And I think it is because the way that she styles herself as a musical artist, her hairstyle is like, and her clothing can be kind of distracting. So I guess I just never really, really took a good look at her face. But she is absolutely gorgeous. And I think she does have some acting chops as well. So I really do hope to see her do more in the future. And like I said, I don't feel like she had like really major scenes in this movie, but her presence is felt. And as a matter of fact, she has a really good scene with Little and Juan, that's Mahershala Ali's character, where they're all at this table talking about some pretty serious issues there. And I liked her presence in that scene. And the directing was so smart, because there's a moment where Little gets up and leave, and instead of cutting to him or cutting to her, the director was smart enough to keep the camera on Mahershala Ali, and just his expression and his you see that struggle, that inner struggle going on with him about how he's trying to be positive towards Little and yet he's being negative at the same time. It's so powerful. But and yeah, that was a great scene, and like I said, her presence there actually did help that scene as well. Okay, let me go ahead and move ahead here. So with Little, I'll just say this. This it really exemplified to me, and I mean the orientation thing, that's sexual orientation is definitely a part of it, but I mean really you could lift that out of the movie and I think it would be just as powerful, because it shows so much of what black boys deal with. I think a lot of people don't understand how tough it is growing up as a black boy, because when we're really young and you're talking about like, a baby and a toddler and you're cute in this, like people just give you so much attention and so much love. And it's like, as soon as a black boy gets a little bit older, sometimes people just kind of give up on them. And it's a shame, but it does happen. Even sometimes, parents will, instead of focusing on what's important with the boy, they almost treat him like a doll or something. I mean, like, they'll dress him up. They make sure that he looks nice. They make sure he has nice shoes, of course, because that's like a big over focus in the black community. And they'll focus sometimes on frivolous things, but not really be as concerned about his education. What's he gonna do with his future? Is he making sure that he keeps out of trouble so that he doesn't end up in a bad situation? It just happens, and it's really a shame to see that happen so often, and you feel that so much with this character. And his orientation just makes it even rougher on him because he doesn't really understand it. And there's an amazing moment where his mom is yelling at him, and again, brilliant directing choice. The sound is out, like there's no sound, but you can read her lips. You can see what she's saying to her own son, and it's just so impactful. And him just standing there having to take that is really amazing. And the character barely speaks, which I understand that as well, because when I was young, my family moved a lot, and there would be times when I just didn't feel like talking because I felt like I wasn't being heard, like my feelings didn't matter to people. And I mean, sometimes I still feel that way, and that's a big part of this movie as well, that as this character gets older, that hurt child is still there. And I think that is true for a lot of us, not just black males, but just in general. I think a lot of us do have that inner child that's still hurting from things that just weren't dealt with properly when we were younger. So yeah, the actor I think did a great job, and a lot of it was him just kind of being quiet and being in the moment and connecting with other actors, and I think he did a good job with that. So moving into the teen, him being a teenager, teen years, that's where things definitely got rougher for the character, because what, his orientation was a lot more obvious to people, and he was harassed for that, and intimidated and all these things. But again, just being a black male, you don't even have to have that issue to deal with to go through those same type of things, because if you don't live up to stereotypes, it can be rough growing up black. I mean, honestly, like, if you're growing up a black male, because like, if you're not tough and you don't like to fight, if you're not athletic, if you're like not into rap music, or you're into like nerdy culture, you're into that nerdy stuff or whatever, like anime and things like that, it can be rough, because people they really treat you like you're just weird, and that you don't have much worth, so it's really rough. And like I said, that's a lot of what the character is dealing with. But then, this character on top of that has to deal with trying to figure out who he is in terms of his orientation. And it really is a friend of his that helps to connect with him and show him, like, I guess, a glimpse of some of the love that he needs in his life. And, it propels the story forward really from there. But also, he does deal with violence against him as well because of his orientation, which he retaliates for. And then again, that propels his life in a certain direction. And without having those strong role models there, those parental figures, I mean, his life goes down a darker path. Again, this actor here, he did a great job. He really did. Like, you could see like so much frustration balled up. There's even a moment where these boys are just like mercilessly teasing him. And when they walk away, you like see him kind of like, I guess sort of, you see that he wants to fight them, but he just knows that he can't, that he would get beat. But by the end, he just doesn't care. By the end of that segment, I guess I'll say he just doesn't care anymore about what will happen, when he does decide to become violent. Now, I have to admit, I'm not going to say this was a perfect movie. No movie is perfect. I do feel like the transition from him being a child to a teenager was kind of smooth. From him being a teen to an adult, it felt a bit jarring, just because I almost feel like there should have been maybe a segment to show his time behind bars, because he obviously does get locked up for the retaliation that he does. But we jumped from him being a teen, that very like reserved teen trying to stay out of trouble, trying to do the right thing, to him being an adult who is a drug dealer now, very much like Juan was at the beginning. And they do make that strong comparison by the things that he says. But yeah, it was a bit jarring, and I do feel like the actor doesn't quite have the physical appearance as much as the young actor and the teen have with each other. And by the way, in the second part of the movie, he went by his actual name, Chiron. So once he's an adult, he goes by the name Black, the nickname Black, which is given to him by his friend that he had in high school, who was almost forced against him. But I mean, the guy did have a choice, but in a way he was kind of forced against him, though. But yeah, I thought this actor did a good job too. Especially the scene again with Naomie Harris. That was an amazing scene. And again, you see him, he has this tough side, but also he's very wounded. And it's like he's doing what he's doing. He's living this drug life. Not really so much by choice. It just feels like he's doing what he feels like he has to do, and that doesn't justify it in any way. But it just shows how much he's unsure of himself, and how much he does feel like he's trapped. And I mean, people call it trapping for a reason. When they talk about drug dealing and they call it the trap, yeah, they call it that for a reason. That's how the people feel. It's not like a positive thing. So yeah, I think he played that pretty well, and he does link back up with that high school friend that, like I said, was kind of turned against him. And the movie really ends from there with those two interacting. And I think the director showed a lot of patience and mainly making it one scene to where it was a lot of time spent at the restaurant where his friend works. And like I said, it was one long scene. That takes a lot of patience to do that. Quentin Tarantino is great at that. M. Night Shyamalan is great at that, and not a lot of directors can pull that off to have a scene that's long. But I was impressed by that, and it was a big change of pace from the rest of the movie, which I said, up front, some people may have issues with the pacing of the movie, but I like the way that it was handled. And I like that the movie ended with that connection back to him, like just trying to find love, basically. And it's not always about love in the terms of, like finding a lover. I mean, I know some people just look at it that way, but human beings just in general need love. And, it's unfortunate that a lot of people just don't get the love that they should get from their parents. So, the main character, I feel like he really does have like a hole in his heart that he was trying to fill up. Yeah, to me, very powerful there. And, I like that it does have flashes back to him being a black boy, to being young, because like I said, that inner child is really there, still wounded, trying to mend those wounds, and the imagery as well. I think the original title of this movie, I mean the script, was based off a play that never got produced, and I think the full title was something like "In Moonlight, Black Boys Look Blue." If it's not that exactly, it's pretty close to that, and it's a great title because it really does make sense when you think about it. Pretty clever, and I do understand why they cut it down just to Moonlight for the actual movie, but very powerful movie altogether. Not flawless. I mean, I do feel like there you can nitpick the pacing a little bit. I do feel like the score wasn't especially strong, but I did like the music choices, especially the chopped and screwed songs, which if you don't know, that's when they take a song, like a DJ takes a song and slows it down and chops up the lyrics some, like that. That's chopped and screwed. That's that type of music, which I was kind of surprised to see in a movie based mainly in Atlanta. It's normally something that's popular in Texas, but still, it was pretty awesome. Some music choices, but yeah, I think the score could have been better overall. So, my final verdict with the movie, I really feel like it's a great movie. I hope that the actors get a lot more opportunities, not just the actors that were already established, but the actors also that played the main character. I really want to see them, their careers propelled, because they definitely deserve it. And I think this movie was just a perfect storm. You had the right writer, you had the great director, and the director did work with the script as well. You had a great cast, like everything just came together. I hate that their Oscar moment was stepped on a little bit, but at the same time, they won. That's what matters in history, in terms of history. So overall for this movie, I say because it addresses so many social issues, even for people that might be homophobic, I think they should push past it. There may be, I would say, maybe 2 or 3 scenes that are going to make you uncomfortable, and they made me uncomfortable, just to be real. But like I said, that doesn't mean that I'm hateful. It's just that I'm straight. So, but I mean, that's just the way it is. But I feel like this movie for the gay community was a lot more powerful than, say, like Brokeback Mountain, which because that had so much awards attention around it. I did watch it, and honestly, I don't feel like it was a strong script. I just don't. I feel like it had talented actors, but I don't feel like it was a strong script, and I don't think that it represented like real love. It showed lust to me, So I think that this movie here would handle things much better. And there's another movie I got to give a shout out to, a movie called Pariah, which if you've never seen that, that's pretty amazing as well. It's about a black girl, a teenager that is trying to figure out herself in terms of her orientation. Well, actually, she knows what she is in terms of her orientation, but she's trying to hide it from her very religious mother and her father as well, who she just doesn't know how he would take it, I guess. But that's a powerful movie as well. So definitely that one's worth checking out also. It was on Netflix. I'm not sure if it still is. You can check that out and see. But getting back to Moonlight, great movie. I think it's so worth seeing just because of the discussions that it can create.